Hello friends. I've struggled with this video, what to say, how much to reveal, but it's important that us homesteaders who are on YouTube, that we share everything. I mean, the good and the bad. Obviously we don't share everything about our lives, but not everything about homesteading or living out in the country is good. There's a lot of evil in this world. And when that hits the homestead, it's important to share it because it will help somebody else, hopefully. As I'm recording this, it's Tuesday afternoon, a little after 3. Yesterday, evil hit the homestead. Something really bad happened. As you know, I've had trouble getting hay, mainly alfalfa. Thankfully, a friend yesterday evening was able to bring me some hay, some alfalfa, mainly because she flew in to the San Antonio airport and was able to pick it up on her way home. As far as, I haven't checked this week, but I don't think there's alfalfa here. My understanding, it's the alfalfa that my feed store buys is grown in the Panhandle, and it's all being shipped to the the states where there's been flooding. So we just don't have any. But because of that, I've been forced to let my goats out to graze. And lately things have been going okay. They've been staying in front of the house. Everything's been fine. Yesterday, it wasn't. I let the second group, all the does and kids out. It was, I don't know, sometime between 10:30 and 11. You know, I'm thinking maybe 11:45, I'm not sure. But I put the other group up, let these guys out. They ran off and started munching in the cedar, and I went in the house. And as my habit, I routinely look out the windows, checking up on them. And eventually, I wasn't seeing them. Well, there's a lot of times they'll be behind the cabin or someplace else. They'll be in the cedar trees. And I can't see them, but a minute or two later they show up again. Or if I go outside and just call, you know, I can hear them. They're on the other side of the cabin or the camper. They're just right where I cannot see through a window. And so I made note of it, but I wasn't panicky or anything like that. But I thought, you know, I'm going to get a treat ready. I use treats to convince everybody to come into the paddock. And so I went and I got the treat ready, came out with it. And half the goats were inside the paddock. I had Sarah chained and the gates were unlocked, so they could just push them open. Or the wind could push it open and then they'd come through. And several weren't. The babies were outside. Took me a while. Got everybody but Jasmine's kid in. Eventually figured out how to get him in. Takes kids a little while to figure out how these gates work. But, you know, I gave them all their snack. And once everybody was around the hay feeder eating their little snack, their treat, like I do every time, I did a head count. You know, who's here? Is anybody missing? Well, I quickly realized 2 goats were missing. Jasmine, whose baby was at the time still outside the paddock, crying, screaming for his mom, and Sydney. So I started screaming for him. Now, I assumed that they were in the woods you know, right in the cedar trees, munching away. And then as soon as they realized I was here, they'd come running. That's happened millions of times, but they didn't come running. So I started looking around. I went west, that direction, to the past where the paddock ends, because there's some breaks in the brush and stuff. And you know, I called, looked. Goats weren't down there. Didn't see anything. Didn't see the goats. So came back, and you know, I'm calling, doing stuff that will make a lot of noise. And I quickly heard a noise, and I discovered Sydney was on the other side of the paddock, on the other side of the fence. Technically speaking, still on my property, but practically on the property line of my neighbors. And it's kind of risky going over there because my neighbor doesn't, I mean, he used to be thankful that I would keep an eye on his place. Now he doesn't want me on his land at all. Changed his tune a couple years ago. So I went and I got her, stayed right next to the fence, managed to catch her collar, got her up, instantly knew she was badly hurt. She was only walking on 3 legs, holding 1 leg in the air. Managed to pull, holding onto her collar, I pulled her over onto my land. She was trying to get away from me the whole time, probably because she was injured, because that's not her normal behavior. But I got her over to the other side where I have all the gates, and I don't know, 4 or 5 yards away from the gate, she just collapsed. Couldn't stay on those legs anymore. It was then, when she was down, I examined what I could, saw an actual wound. It probably, maybe like a dime size, penny, nickel, somewhere in there. Kind of a circle, but with a tear, slight little tear. Very suspicious looking to me. I didn't look like any kind of wound. I mean, so I went and I got her water, and I went and I got some medicine. At the same time, I'm calling for Jasmine and trying to figure out how to get this kid to go into the paddock. And where Sydney collapsed, it was in pure sun. She was panting super, super heavy. And I knew a lot of that was pain, but I also, she was in full sun, and it was in the 80s. As I'm recording this to you right now, it's 90 degrees. So I wanted her out of the sun. She needed to get out of the sun. But she also wasn't standing. So I called a neighbor for help, my fantastic, helpful neighbor. And he came. They drove over here. They live a couple miles away. And he helped me get her up. And we got her into the secondary shelter. I call it the food shelter or the pallet shelter. It's made out of pallets. So it's really, because it's pallets and more open, yeah, we do have some boards to help stop the rain from coming in, but there's a lot more air circulation. And so, in fact, one whole wall is just pallets with no boards covering it up anywhere, so it's really, really open, facing the south. And it was much cooler than the other one. So we got her in there, and I got her the water and everything. But before, while she was still standing, we examined her. She only had the single wound. There are no more wounds. And I had assumed before that it was the same leg that she was holding in the air was the one with the wound, but it turned out to be opposite legs, both front legs, but opposite. And I felt the leg she was holding up in the air. I felt the whole thing from top to bottom. And I couldn't feel a break. I couldn't feel anything. So I'm assuming that maybe she sprained something or tore ligaments or tendons or something. She's still holding the leg up. She won't use it. The leg that has the wound, you know, and she was bleeding and stuff. That's the leg she's putting weight on. But she clearly doesn't want to put weight on that leg either, but she has no choice. So, by this time, enough time had passed. I'd already called the sheriff's department. They were dealing with some other issues, and this is a humongous county. You can fit the entire state of Rhode Island in this county, and we have very few deputies. So, I had to wait hours. It was evening before he called me, and then I came out. And I told him everything. I showed him Sydney, showed him other things I knew. He agreed her wound looked suspicious. And earlier than before the deputy ever called me, the friend who got me some alfalfa showed up. She also agrees. This looks suspicious. We're all thinking it was caused by a human being, that this was not an animal attack, but a human being attacked my goats. Which, as far as I'm concerned, should be a crime. Animal abuse, at least. I'm convinced Jasmine is dead. Jasmine's a crazy goat mama. She would never ever leave her boy. And if she was alive, I think her boy would be with her. I don't know if he would have come without her or not, but she would have crawled home if necessary. I mean, Jasmine is one of the best mamas I have. I believe that a human killed her. This is all it is circumstantial evidence. Don't have I don't know. I haven't seen Jasmine. I don't know where her body is. I can't look for her. I've looked a little bit to see if maybe she came to my property, but I saw vultures yesterday, and they were flying. I don't know. They were flying over a huge area, so couldn't really say anything. But I'm convinced Jasmine was killed. You know, there is a possibility, and if the authorities, if an investigation does happen, like I was led to believe yesterday from the deputy, and it is determined that it was not caused by a human, but it was an animal attack, I'll deal with it. Okay. I don't want innocent people charged with crimes or whatever. But there is a lot of circumstantial evidence pointing to a specific person. And I mean a human being. And the deputy did go talk to that person. At least he said he was going to go talk to that person. He said he would call me today around noon, and I haven't heard. I want to say that in the state of Texas, this is open range, meaning that if you don't want livestock on your land, it's your responsibility to fence them out. In some states, it's the owner of the livestock responsibility to fence the livestock in. Not in Texas. In Texas, legally, by the law, if you don't want livestock on your property, you have to put up a fence to keep them out. I don't know if the goats went to the neighbor's property or were on my property. I don't know. I don't know what. I have I have suspicions on what was used to kill Jasmine and injure Sydney. But I don't know where it happened. I did not get hardly any sleep last night. I've been really tired. I had wanted to go for a hike as close to the property line as possible today, but I was just way too tired. And the vultures I was seeing yesterday, I haven't really noticed today. Maybe they were there, I don't know. But this is Jasmine. This is Sydney. I hope I got her. I hope she's in the picture. And she is under the hay feeder. She's not getting as much shade as she did earlier. But she clearly wants to be near goats. She doesn't want to be alone in the shelter. So I've got her water out here. It's actually in the sun. I'm probably going to move it. She ate a little bit this morning. I don't think she ate anything yesterday. I have given her medication. She's on antibiotics. And other things. I'm going to add some herbs to help with her leg, her injuries. I've got to figure out how to milk her. Honestly, I didn't milk yesterday. I know it was bad. I should have milked. Tiffany was not hurt and she gets milked. Jasmine was my best milker, period. So that's a big, huge financial loss that I'm losing income because of this. Besides the fact I love Jasmine, she was a great goat. A lot of personality, a great mama. It just really makes me angry. You might be wondering why anybody would hurt an animal like this. Well, there are mean, cruel, evil people out in this world. And I'll just leave it at that. If she was actually killed by a human being, and truthfully, I really believe he's capable of that. I really do believe that. Well, I just want to let you know, not everything's rosy on the homestead. Sometimes evil happens, sometimes predator attacks, sometimes horrible things happen. So, just pray. Pray for the truth. And pray for Sydney here. I'm convinced Jasmine's dead. Whether she could have been saved if I had access to her immediately, I don't know. I don't know if she was killed instantly or not. I don't have a body. But just pray for the whole situation. And I want to thank you so much for watching. And all of you who've subbed to me lately, I want to thank you so much. It amazes me how many people... You know, I film... I know my filming isn't the greatest. It's on a cheapo, yucky camera phone. It's not very good. But you keep watching. You keep coming back. And I'm really thankful. I'm amazed. I'm thankful. And if you're just getting started on homesteading, I hope my experience opens your eyes to some of the negative things. I mean, there's responsibilities. I'm giving Sydney antibiotics by injection. There's no vet around here. It's far to a vet, and even if I took her to a vet, I'd be having to give her injections. If you're going to get livestock, things are going to happen. They're going to get hurt. They're going to get sick, and you need to be able to provide medical care. So just keep that in mind if you're brand new homesteading or dreaming of homesteading. So I hope you're having a blessed day, a much better day or week than I'm having. And just have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening.